That morning, I was tending my roses, my garden, my sanctuary, completely oblivious to the day's unexpected turn. My hands were in the cool earth, checking the roots of newly planted saplings when a sharp pain ripped through my back. It was just another peaceful day until that jarring sensation, compounded by the surprise of my Nephew, the 22-year-old tailor, being there. My garden had always been where I found solace after my husband, Grant, passed away. At 67, I was often complimented on my youthful appearance, which I attributed to a healthy lifestyle and a determined spirit. However, a deep-seated loneliness had taken root, an emptiness my youthful looks couldn't mask. While positioning a sapling, I was struck with that sudden pain, so intense I dropped everything. I tried to breathe through the agony, but it spread, immobilizing me. Then Taylor's voice broke through. "Nora, are you okay?" I managed to say, "Something's wrong," pointing to where the pain was the worst. Taylor, with his broad shoulders, muscular physique, and magazine-cover looks, blonde hair shimmering in the sun, was staring at me with concern. He had that effortless charm that drew people in, though he seemed unaware of it. I told him I couldn't move, and he asked if I was ready for this. I mused that this isn't just a story, but a journey where every moment challenges what you thought you knew, where feelings become tangled and unspoken truths linger. I remind myself to make sure I have subscribers as I recall. I need to ask them to follow me. Taylor knelt beside me, his large hands gently touching my shoulders. "Let me help," he murmured. "I'll give you a massage. It usually helps." A chill ran through me. I was desperate for relief and couldn't object, but his touch startled me. His fingers, though strong, were surprisingly gentle as they worked my tense muscles. As the pain lessened, an unfamiliar warmth spread through me, awakening something that had been dormant. I inhaled sharply, the sound catching in my throat. We might have spoken, but I couldn't articulate the words. Taylor continued his massage, until he suddenly stopped and looked directly at me, his expression serious. "Nora, this is bad," he said with concern. "We can't just fix this here. Let's get you inside by the fireplace. The heat will help, and I'll grab a lotion." His massage had heightened my senses, every touch now intensely vivid. Something was shifting inside me, an unsettling mix of fear and excitement. "We need to take care of this," he had said. We moved inside, and the crackling fire filled the room with a warm glow, providing immediate relief. The pain was a sharp argument, overriding my hesitation. I nodded, and Taylor carefully helped me to my feet, his strong hand a reassuring presence as he guided my movements, urging me to take it slow. There was an unexpected comfort in his grasp, a closeness I hadn't experienced in years. He quickly spread a blanket on the floor, gesturing for me to lie down. "You need to stretch out your back, find a more comfortable position," he said, retrieving a tube of cream. His eyes, earnest yet hesitant, met mine. "This will help release those muscles." I settled onto the blanket, feeling the fire's warmth seep into me as Taylor warmed the cream between his hands. The first touch of his hand on my shoulders caused me to exhale a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "Just relax," he murmured. "You'll feel better in no time." But his touch was doing more than just easing my physical pain. It was stirring something inside, an echo of long, buried feelings that fluttered to life as his fingers moved down my back. My thoughts, once a jumbled mess, grew sharper, yet also more complex, a confusing tangle of clarity and emotion. Taylor's touch wasn't just healing, it was awakening. I again hesitated, but the pain made the decision for me. Taylor gently helped me to my feet, again urging me to be careful. His strong hands almost encircled me, and an odd sense of security washed over me. This protectiveness, this unexpected closeness, was something I hadn't felt in years. The room was bathed in a warm, orange glow from the fireplace, the crackling fire a soothing melody that seemed to ease my tension. Taylor again spread the blanket, his eyes now softer, though still serious as he instructed me to lie down. "Need to loosen your back in a more comfortable position," he said. "I brought some cream too. This will soften those muscles." As I lay down, the warmth enveloping me, Taylor squeezed the lotion onto his hands and began to warm it up. Again, the first touch of his hand on my shoulder made me involuntarily release a breath. "Calm down," he whispered. "You'll feel better now." But each touch sent a shift through me. His hands were not just addressing my physical pain, they were reviving suppressed emotions. As his fingers moved over my back, my thoughts, while clear, felt increasingly confused. Taylor's touch was slow, yet sure, working on a deeper level both physically and emotionally. "It's no wonder your muscles are so tight," he said, his voice warm. "You're taking on too much, Nora. You need to think about yourself too." I tried to process what he was saying. His words, even more than the fire, were making me feel both comforted and unsettled. "You need more than just the garden," he continued. "You need someone who cares about you." I didn't want to admit that I hadn't grasped what he meant. Or perhaps I did. "Taylor," I murmured, my voice trembling slightly. Being this close to him was both comforting and unnerving. His hands slid lower on my back, continuing the massage. The warmth of his touch eased the tension in my muscles, yet simultaneously, a new kind of unease began to coil within me. "You're really helping," I managed, though his voice was noticeably slower this time. "But don't worry, everything will work out." Just like the flickering fire, I sensed his words were more than just reassurance. His presence was growing more intense by the second. As Taylor's hands moved down my back, each slow, deliberate motion releasing a muscle, a disquieting feeling took hold. His warmth seeped deeper, a slow but determined heat. My mind began to cloud, an internal battle raging within. "Nora, stay calm," I told myself, but control seemed to slip away. With every inch his warm hands moved closer to my shoulders, my heart hammered against my ribs. It was a clash between Taylor's proximity and the boundaries ingrained over years. A voice screamed internally, "He's your step. Nephew, Nora, this shouldn't be happening." The fireplace bathed the room in a warm glow, but that heat became oppressive when I saw Taylor wipe sweat from his brow. My gaze was drawn to him. He pulled his shirt up, revealing his muscular, sun-kissed torso, which seemed to practically glow in the firelight. It was sculpture-like. It was hard to explain the jolt I felt then. I hadn't been this close to anyone in years. "This heat from the fire is too much," he said, letting his shirt fall to the floor. His tone was casual, but the depth behind his gaze froze me. His eyes met mine. "Nora, you're getting really hot too," he said, his voice soft yet firm. "Keeping that garment on will make you feel worse. Let me help." Words caught in my throat. I wanted to pull away, but the room's heat and the warmth on my skin were unbearable. I gave a slow nod. Taylor knelt before me and grasped the hem of my shirt, gently lifting it up. His warm hands brushed my skin, sending a shiver through me that wasn't from cold. The air between us thickened as he carefully worked the fabric around my hair, then set it aside. His eyes lingered for a moment before he quickly looked away, but I didn't need to see his face to understand the turmoil that look had caused within me. "Nora," Taylor said, his voice deeper now, "do you feel better?" "I think so," I replied, my voice trembling slightly. I couldn't mask the internal maelstrom. My words cracked under the strain. It wasn't just the heat of the fire, but the overwhelming warmth of Taylor's presence. "Come on," he murmured, holding out his hand. "Let's go sit on the couch." When we reached the couch, Taylor's protective nature felt so instinctive, so natural, that the fear inside me began to melt away. He kissed me softly, then sat beside me, leaving a slight space between us. Yet, the tension in the room remained palpable. Our fingers brushed, and an electric jolt I hadn't felt in years surged through me. He helped me stand, his strong arms supporting me for a moment. One truth was undeniable that night. As we sat in shared silence, it was nearly impossible to ignore the weight of our feelings. However, it was incredibly difficult, perhaps impossible, to articulate this, while simultaneously trying to avoid losing myself in the depth of his gaze. My heart hammered against my ribs, its rhythm echoing the crackling fire. Taylor's very presence, his breath, was affecting me profoundly. Being this close to him was both unnerving and strangely peaceful. I turned my head and caught his gaze, our eyes locking. His gaze held a magnetism, a pull that was impossible to ignore. It was deep, intense, yet held a surprising softness. Perhaps it was curiosity, or something far more profound simmering beneath the surface of that closeness. The world seemed to hold its breath as his fingers brushed mine, sending a shiver through me. He didn't speak, but the silence vibrated with unspoken emotion. His eyes then drifted to my lips, a brief but potent moment that sent another tremor rippling through me. Everything shifted in that instant. He leaned closer, the warmth of his breath ghosting across my skin. The usual rush of inner voices quieted as something profound took hold. There was only the pull of his eyes, the proximity of his body, a sense that right and wrong had become inconsequential. I closed my eyes and leaned in, just a fraction, and our lips met. The initial touch was tender, almost questioning, but within seconds it deepened into a powerful exploration. His warmth, his breath, the sensation of his lips against mine, all collided with the loneliness, fear, and longing I had carried for so long. In that instant, I felt a merging, a dissolving of boundaries. His hands moved to cradle my cheeks as the kiss intensified, and my hands instinctively gripped his shoulders, drawing me closer. When we broke apart, our breath was shallow, but the bond between us felt undeniably stronger. This wasn't just a kiss, it was the culmination of years of unspoken feelings, suppressed desires, and a connection that felt both ancient and new. My heart hammered against my ribs, and I felt breathless. Looking into his eyes, I saw a question mirroring a deep desire. My mind fell silent, replaced by the instinctive drive of my heart and body. "Yes," I said, my voice a little shaky, but clear, "I want you." I knew, with absolute certainty, that nothing between us would ever be the same after tonight. A flicker of surprise crossed his face, but was swiftly replaced with a slow, warm smile and an answering desire in his eyes. "I want you too, Nora," he said, his voice both soft and firm. "I've been trying to hold back, but I can't anymore. I want you." With those words, the walls of loneliness and fear I had carried for so long seemed to crumble away. "I desire you," he murmured, each word washing over me like a warm tide. "I want to be with you." He cupped my face in his hands, pulling me closer, and this time there was no hesitation. When our lips met once more, the intensity was staggering, far beyond what words could convey. It was a turning point. His presence, his warmth, his words, even in the face of my own fears, gave me the courage to fully embrace what we both yearned for. The momentum was undeniable. I hadn't resisted a single impulse. Completely surrendering to the flow of my feelings, I lay breathless and entangled with Taylor under a single sheet. A small smile played on my lips as I looked at the ceiling, my gaze lingering on our discarded clothes scattered across the floor. The night felt dreamlike, almost surreal. Taylor turned towards me, that captivating smile still gracing his face. His hand gently brushed my cheek, his thumb briefly caressing my lips, and I remembered Nora saying his voice was deep and soft. This moment was priceless. Turning to him, a mix of emotions still swirling within me, I spoke with heartfelt gratitude. "Thank you, Taylor. I haven't felt this scene in a long time, and you being so incredible, so handsome. I really like you." I couldn't hide the sincerity in my eyes. Taylor's lips curved into his signature, charming smile. "Nora," he said, "do you know how beautiful you are? I'm not." It was different talking about appearances with him. His genuineness, his kindness, everything about him boosted my self-esteem. I needed you, Taylor, I admitted. His words and his touch were so powerful. I wanted to etch this night into my memory. I couldn't look away from him. To be honest, I couldn't if you were here, he said, his fingers tracing the edge of the sheet. I'll be coming here a lot, Nora. From now on, whenever you need me, I'll be here. He continued, a grin flickering across his face, just to see you, just to give you these moments. He paused, his voice filled with determination and sincerity. I hope you enjoyed my story. It was an exciting journey, and I'm so happy to share it with you. If you want to hear more stories like this, a new door felt like it was opening in my life. The burdens and loneliness of the past were receding, replaced by a deep sense of trust and peace with Taylor by my side. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and snuggled closer to his warmth. If you'd like to get alerts when new episodes air, don't forget to subscribe. Your likes and comments are greatly appreciated. Hearing your thoughts inspires me to write more, so thank you, and I'll see you in the next narrative. Subscribe and like for more.